Hare Krishna. Um, Bhakta Billy here. Just wanted to share some Gita thoughts. So, my buddy sent us a few verses from the Gita today, which were dope. And so, I wanted to share some reflections on that. So, Bhagavad Gita 4:37 says, "As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjun, so does the fire of knowledge burn to ashes all reactions to material activities." And the purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared herein to fire. This fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction: reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, are consumed. In the Vedas, Brihad Ananyaka Upanishad 4:422, it is stated, Ubhe udhai vasha ete tarati amritaha sadva asaduni. One overcomes both the pious and impious reactions of work. So, I'm no expert on the Gita, but one of the things that I think is really interesting is how Prabhupada uses philosophical terms taken straight out of the Western philosophical tradition. So when in the purport he references these philosophy terms a priori and a posteriori, these terms show that Srila Prabhupada was extremely well versed in the history of philosophy in general, not just Eastern philosophy or Bhakti Yoga philosophy or Vaishnava philosophy, but these particular terms are very interesting because they're used, they were introduced in Latin philosophy. They're Latin terms which were introduced in Greek philosophy, but particularly they were popularized by Immanuel Kant. So I brought up the Wikipedia here, which is obviously the bona fide source of knowledge in the modern age. And what they say is a priori and a posteriori. A priori means, from Latin, it means from the earlier, and a posteriori means from the latter. And they are philosophical terms which were popularized in Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, which was first published in 1781. And as it says in this Wikipedia page, it's one of the most influential works in the history of philosophy. So I came to understand these terms from studying philosophy in college, and where Immanuel Kant is treated in every single subject. If you're studying psychology, or you're studying the science of, or the philosophy of science, or you're studying the realms of aesthetics or ethics and civil rights and stuff like that, Immanuel Kant literally wrote the book on these things. And in these terms, a priori or a posteriori, Immanuel Kant highlights a really interesting aspect of knowledge, which is that some knowledge is not manifest in an objective sense, such as that you can do a science experiment to find out deductively if a certain thing is true or false. But many things exist in a priori sense. which in other terms could be thought of as in a logical sense or in a mathematical sense. And that's sort of like how 2 plus 2 equals 4, whether or not there's any objective physical reality to something, to the concept of the number 2, or the concept of the number 4, or that if you add one concept with another concept, it equals another concept. These are a priori terms, which, as once again, they're literally meaning from the earlier, they exist in the realm of pure logic or pure reason. Hence, they were featured in Immanuel Kant's philosophical book, The Critique of Pure Reason. They exist in the realm of the mind, the subtle laws of logic. So, interestingly, Prabhupada used them in this purport. And I'll read again how he used them. He says that the perfect knowledge of self and super self and of their relationship is compared herein to fire. This fire not only burns up all reactions to impious activities, but also all reactions to pious activities, turning them to ashes. There are many stages of reaction. Reaction in the making, reaction fructifying, reaction already achieved, and reaction a priori. But knowledge of the constitutional position of the living entity burns everything to ashes. When one is in complete knowledge, all reactions, both a priori and a posteriori, are consumed. And then he quotes the verse from the Upanishad. So beyond just the interesting fact that Prabhupada was well learned in many spheres of logic, philosophy, and Western knowledge, in this case, it's very telling that he's explaining the burning of karmic reactions using these terms. From my understanding, the only way I could really conclude what the meaning of this is that whether it's a reaction which is just in the realm of or which has not been realized yet, it's still in the unrealized realm, which would be a priori, or if it's a reaction which is already in effect, a posteriori, it's already started to manifest. These are all consumed. And this blazing fire of perfect knowledge is is really the gift of the Srimad Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada's given us. So anyway, a few Bhagavad Gita thoughts there. Gonna try to keep doing these because I think it's cool to make some contribution. If anyone listens to it or not, I'm gonna keep posting them, and hopefully they get better. And if I said anything wrong, I ask you to please correct me humbly. I'm sure I am adding some of my own speculation here, but Hare Krishna. Hope you liked whatever I shared.